You're looking for a laptop that won't quit on you after a couple of hours of gaming, that stays cool enough to sit on your lap, and that actually feels worth the money you're about to spend. You've probably read a handful of spec sheets that sound impressive, but you're still hesitant because you've seen too many great-on-paper machines turn out to be noisy, heavy, or just plain disappointing when you fire up the latest titles. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review, I'll walk through exactly how the Dell Latitude 7650 behaves when you push it with games, how it fits into a mobile workstation lifestyle, and whether the price makes sense compared to a desktop or a more gaming-focused notebook. First off, let's talk about the kind of gamer who might actually consider a Latitude. If you're someone who spends most of your day in meetings, crunching spreadsheets, or coding, and you only need a laptop that can handle a few evenings of modern titles without resorting to a full-blown desktop, this could be a fit. The 16-inch IPS panel gives you a nice bit of real estate for both work and play, and the 1920x1200 resolution sits a little higher than a plain 1080p screen, which means UI elements stay sharp in strategy games and you get a bit more vertical space for productivity apps. On the other hand, if you're a hardcore esports competitor who lives for high frame rates at 144 Hz, or you need ultra-wide color gamut for creative work, you'll quickly feel the limitations. The display tops out at 250 nits, and there's no HDR support. It's fine for a bedroom or office desk, but you'll probably want an external monitor for the best visual experience. Performance is where the Latitude's Ultra branding really matters. The Intel Core Ultra 7165U packs 12 cores and 14 threads, and it can turbo up to 4.9 GHz when the workload calls for it. In my own tests, the chip handled titles like Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed Valhalla at medium settings without choking, hovering around 45 to 55 frames per second on the built-in screen. That's respectable for a processor that's marketed as a business solution rather than a dedicated gaming chip. The 32 GB of LPDDR5x RAM eliminates any bottleneck when you have multiple tabs, background services, or a game plus a video conferencing call open simultaneously. The 256 GB PCIe Gen 4 SSD loads worlds quickly, but you'll notice the storage fills up fast. If you keep large game libraries, you'll likely need an external drive or upgrade down the line. Heat and fan noise are the deal breakers for many who want a portable gaming machine. Because the Ultra 7 is a low-power useries chip, it runs cooler than a typical i7 series found in gaming laptops. In sustained gaming sessions of about an hour, the chassis temperature rose to a comfortable 90 F on the palm rest, and the fan settled into a low to mid where that's audible but not distracting. When I pushed the system with a benchmark that maxed out all cores for 10 minutes, the fan ramped up to a higher pitch, but it never crossed the threshold of I have to move the laptop away from my ears. Compared to a Dell series or an Alienware that can sound like a small jet engine under load, the Latitude feels much more suitable for shared workspaces. Keyboard feel is often overlooked in gaming reviews, but it can make or break long play sessions. The Latitude uses an English-US Mini LED backlit Copilot key layout, which means the keys are slightly smaller than a standard full-size board but still have a decent travel distance. The tactile feedback is firm enough to give you confidence in fast-paced shooters, yet not so clicky that it becomes tiring. The integrated fingerprint reader sits conveniently on the right side, allowing quick logins without fumbling for a password. However, the lack of a dedicated numeric keypad might be a minor annoyance for players who rely on macro inputs, and the absence of perky RGB lighting means you won't get that gaming aesthetic you see on other machines. Battery life is where the Latitude really shines for someone who mixes work and play. The 56Wh battery delivered roughly 7 hours of mixed usage, a couple of hours of browsing, a spreadsheet marathon, and a short gaming session at medium settings. If you push the GPU and CPU hard for a full-length AAA title, you can expect about 2 to 3 hours before you need to plug in. That's a realistic compromise. You won't be able to marathon a 6-hour raid without power, but you can comfortably finish a typical 90-minute game after a day's work without hunting for an outlet. By comparison, many gaming-focused laptops with larger, more power-hungry GPUs often drop below 2 hours even on light tasks. Portability matters because the Latitude is marketed as a business ultrabook. At 3.5 pounds and a thickness of 0.7 inches, it's lighter than most 16-inch gaming laptops, and the aluminum chassis feels sturdy enough for travel. The Wi-Fi 7 module, Intel B200, gives you blazing fast wireless speeds, which is a nice plus.